Topo Athletic is committed to lifelong health and better movement. Topo builds running shoes for those who get out there every day, regardless of weather, speed, energy, or mood. Their distinctive fit and feel combines instinctive human movement with modern performance and lightweight comfort to help you keep going, keep trying, and keep moving. Discover the Topo difference and step into a run experience unlike any other.
Run Tri Bike family, this is Jason Bahamundi, the founder of our company. I am going to be going live with Ashley Anderson today to discuss just basically all things triathlon, some of the obstacles that she has overcome to get to where her training. So we're pretty excited to have Ashley on. I just sent the invite to her. Just so you know, Ashley also has a How It All Started on our website. If you go to runtrimag.com, on the top left, you'll see articles. It'll say how it all started. So just feel free to click on there, and then you'll see Ashley's face. Ashley, perfect timing. Thank you for joining us.
What's up?
Not much. How are you today?
I'm good. I had an extra cup of coffee this afternoon because it's like almost past my bedtime here on the East Coast. So I'm ready to go. I have my caffeine, and if I need to, I have a cabinet full of energy chews behind me, so I'm ready to go.
Perfect. So get ready to be a little bit embarrassed because I have written this great hype component for you. Okay. So I want everybody to know you before we even start diving into the questions. Ready to be a little bit embarrassed by my hype?
My patients at work embarrass me all day long with their comments. Kids are very honest. So go.
Awesome. So earlier this year, Ashley raced Oregon 70.3. Then she went to Lahti, Finland to race the 70.3 World Championships. And now she's in the final training weeks for her Ironman Arizona event, which will be taking place in Tempe, Arizona, while always gunning to have the best smile in triathlon. By the way, I stole that from your most recent post. Ashley is an ambassador for Bike Law. She is the regional team captain for Team Zoot, going on 3 years now, 6 years on the team, and is an ambassador for GU Energy Labs. She started in endurance sports in 2015, but it wasn't a straight line to success, as she has been showing here in 2023. We're going to chat about the stresses that you've had to overcome and the obstacles that you've had to overcome, as well as how your job keeps you grounded, which I think is super important. So, Ashley, welcome to the Run, Try, Bike Fireside Chat. I'm ready to get the questions. Are you ready to get the questions?
As ready as I will ever be.
That's just perfect. Like race. Oh man, did I prep enough? So
I can't see my face. So if I have like anything in my teeth, can you let me know? Since I am always gunning for the best smile in triathlon, I can't see my teeth. Okay, we're good.
You're good to go. So we've already had a comments here.
Okay.
Kim Isringhausen says you are amazing. MK Herzl says, yeah, a whole bunch of A's and S's. Ash. And Sarah Beth Kozak says, woohoo, you rock. So
guys.
We're a good start.
Okay.
So here's my first question for you. I want you to take us back to your first 70.3 at Augusta.
Sure.
And then I want you to take us to the most recent one in Finland at the World Championships.
Okay.
When you think of 2 events, what commonalities did you have between those 2 events, and what was the biggest difference between the 2?
I think something that try my best and hardest to shake this. My type A personality it's just not gonna go away. It's a blessing and a curse. And from my first race to Finland most recently, like I'm always going to overthink and overpack and get, somewhat nervous. My ways of dealing with the nerves now are similar but different. But in terms of like similarities between the 2 races, like that level of preparedness and excitement and nervousness it remains pretty tried and true throughout. And I think that it shows that I care. I remember one of my teammates reached out to me before Finland, and he was like, how are you feeling? I was like, I'm kind of nervous. Like, this season's been going really well for me, and I've had some health issues that you and I have kind of talked about, and we'll talk about tonight.
Yep.
And I just, there were so many variables going into Finland. First time traveling overseas, health stuff seemed to be going okay, but I was still, nervous going into it, of all the different what ifs and things that can happen and whatnot. And I remember this teammate told me, he just said, good, that means that you care. And so, from race 1 to race most recent, that level of nervous excitement remains the same. And I think that shows just how much I care. And, I over try, but, usually it works out for me.
You mentioned overpacking. So what's one thing you brought to Finland that you brought right back with you that never left the suitcase and you were like, why did I even bring this?
Half my clothes. Like, I bring all of these things that, maybe if we do something unrelated to training and racing, I may need like this cute outfit if we go out to be like a normal human being and wear normal clothes. And then when the opportunity to go out and be a normal human being rolls around, I'm like, I just want to wear my hokas and my shorts and my t-shirt, and that seems to be okay. So extra clothing. I did bring a bike pump this time, which was really great to have. Everybody wants to be your best friend when you show up to transition in the morning and you have a bike pump. Oh yeah. And you kind of just have to, be like, no, like I'm done. I got to put the bike pump away. Sorry, guys. Kind of like a Disney character at Disney World giving autographs. Like eventually Mickey has to walk away and the little kids are like, oh, no. Let's see. Other thing, I feel like I overpack nutrition. Like I pack a massive Ziploc bag of all of the chews, the Stroop waffles, the drink mix. And it's like, I'm preparing to do 5 ultra marathons in a row. And I always know that I eat this, like now I've really dialed in my nutrition and I've really figured out for the most part what makes my belly happy and what definitely does not. And I put all the things together before the race and I'm like, you're not going to eat but a quarter of this. Like, you don't need those 5 Stroop waffles, on the bike. But, I always pack extra snacks. So, that's one thing that, half of the stuff came back with me. But I've really tried to get better about overpacking. It just never happens.
Is Kyle, is his Instagram handle Boy with the Batman tattoo?
It is Boy with the Batman tattoo.
He wrote, you overpack a lot, boo. And have used bigger font. I think he would have used bigger font.
So when we went to go to the airport, if you looked at the size comparison between his suitcase and my suitcase looked like it could eat his for breakfast and then still have room for like a mid-morning snack. But I told him, I said, I have a race, like I have extra stuff to pack, you don't. But yeah, I'm sure, I can't see the comments, but I'm sure he commented that my suitcase was bulging at the seams and over the weight limit.
You and I are the same. Like, I totally am an overpacker, but I'm a fan of the Real Housewives, and I'm watching the New York season right now. And like, they went to Cancun, and one of the ladies must have had like 20 pairs of shoes. And I thought to myself, well, at least I'm not that much of an overpacker. Like, what 20 pairs of shoes for? I was like, I feel much better about myself. So no matter how big your bag is, probably not as big as one of the Real Housewives of New York going on a trip to Cancun. Leave it at that.
Yeah. I also, so I take my, any race, I take my transition bag as my carry-on, and I pack all of my gear that I would need for race day, minus my helmet, in that transition bag, so that if my luggage were to get lost, at least I have stuff to race. Like, I may not have anything else, but I've got my shit to go race. And So, you know, that's always super embarrassing walking through the airport with this massive turtle shell backpack and then dragging my massive suitcase behind me. But you know what? Got big energy, big personality, and a lot of luggage. So it's all good.
I love it. So you have clearly brought the crowd today. So Sarah Beth Kozak says, your teeth look great, Dentist Ashley. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Kyle mentioned again the family-sized toiletry bag for all of your snacks.
Yep.
And said one can never have too many snacks. Avoid hanger at all costs. So it makes me wonder, are you a person who gets hangry?
Kyle can probably comment on that. Yes, I absolutely get hangry. And I wouldn't necessarily call it hangry. I would call it like hanger sadness. Like I just get real mopey and down and like everything, like Eeyore, like just a very hungry Eeyore. And then you throw me, you know, a bag of chips, some pretzels, anything pumpkin spice, because I am a basic bitch when it comes to fall. And then I'm back to being more like Tigger as opposed to Eeyore. You can tell I work in pediatrics. I'm referencing Winnie the Pooh.
That's all.
But yeah.
Do you go pumpkin spice when you go to Starbucks? You don't go apple macchiato? Have you tried the apple macchiato?
I have not. And I actually, and I may cause a little bit of debate here, but among all of the wonderful things that Kyle, my fiance, has brought into my life, he has introduced me to Wawa's pumpkin spice coffee. Not like the give you diabetes sweet syrupy drinks, but just their regular flavored pumpkin spice coffee. And I would like to argue, and we may lose some viewers at this, that the Wawa pumpkin spice coffee with a little bit of French vanilla creamer and a couple packets of stevia is better than the $9 beverage at Starbucks. Every now and then I do like the frou-frou coffee at Starbucks, but that Wawa, like I can get a 24-ounce cup of coffee, which when you work in pediatrics, you absolutely need, for like $2.09. And I can fill up my car with gas and maybe pick up a snack or two, and it's great. I can do all of that for less than what it cost me to get coffee at Starbucks. So I am all about the Wawa pumpkin spice.
So we'll shut it all down, because if we lost 50% of the audience because you were like Wawa, alligator mouth, then Starbucks pumpkin spice, I'll lose the rest of them by saying I'm not having pumpkin spice at all. So now it's just a conversation. We have a couple of more comments up here. Flood doctor, I guess, maybe?
Yeah.
I guess I should
That's my strength coach.
Okay. Because they said should say something and not troll so much. And then MK Herzl, that I don't know, what is that, 100,000%? Wawa is life. So
we're on the same page about that.
So you've mentioned your job at, working with kids. And I know we talked about this when we did the interview for the story. And I just think it's a really important aspect of your story because of what you see happen on a regular basis. So can you explain what you do
Sure.
so that the audience understands? And then how does that impact your endurance sports life?
Sure. So I joke with people that I work on teeth that are going to fall out anyway. So I am a pediatric dentist, meaning I have gone to dental school, I have gotten all of my doctor of dental surgery degree, and then I lost my mind somewhere in that 4 years and decided to do a 2-year residency to specialize in working with little kiddos, but also patients with medical complexities and special needs. So that does include little people, but it can also include those little people with a lot in their medical history that grow up to then be young adults, arguably people into their 20s and 30s. So I've been in practice now for 4 years. I did my residency at MUSC in Charleston, South Carolina, and that's where I got into triathlon, ironically, in the middle of a residency program. Oh, we have a visitor. Pause.
Yes.
I'm a cat mom. So this is Freestyle, and then my other cat, Watts. is rolling around here. Oh, she doesn't really care. But anyway, residency was in Charleston, and then went to dental school at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, and landed back in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia to practice. And that's where I've been for 4 years now. So I see patients in a normal dental clinic, like you would go to every 6 months or more if you've got more stuff going on in here. But then I also have privileges at 4 different hospital facilities. 2 of those facilities being a children's hospital here in the Norfolk area, and then 2 being a hospital for big and little people. So I am all over the place. I'm typically in the OR at least every other week, if not a couple of times a week. And then in the clinic too. So I'm always on the go when it comes to seeing my patients. Obviously with little people, they keep you on your toes. They keep you humble. I had a patient, she tried to guess my age the other day, and she told me that I looked 47. And I'm not 47. I just turned 33 on the 17th. Mid-30s.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. That's when like peak cardiovascular fitness happens, around your like mid-30s. So I'm waiting for that to happen. But anyway, she guessed that I was 47, and I said, why? And she was like, because your hair's gray. I was like, well, actually, it's kind of like lavender purple gray, but whatever. So kids keep you humble. They keep you on your toes. But more importantly, I see a lot of happy situations and healthy kids. And I see a lot of children who have experienced more in their single-digit years on this planet than I have in my 33. And, you know, when I look at medical histories or, you know, family social histories in terms of what's going on at home or what I suspect may or may not be going on at home, there are a lot of times in those cases where I'll pick up the phone and call my parents on the drive home from work and just say, hey, thanks for caring about me and my health. But the kids with a lot going on in their medical history, you know, it's humbling to read some of the things that they've endured, to talk to the parents just with all the things that they juggle, from teeth to numerous doctor appointments and surgeries and things like that. And I think number one, when I complain that, you know, I can't run for a couple weeks because I injured something, or now that I'm at the age where I sleep funny and I, you know, my back's messed up when I wake up the next day, you know, I complain and I'm like, oh man, I can't run, or oh man, my swim isn't fast because my shoulder's achy. I think about these kids and I'm just like, you know, my bad days really aren't that bad. And I will say, like, in the context of racing, there have been numerous occasions where, you know, when the shit gets hard and you go into those dark moments, especially during the iron distance, when it's just like, oh my God, I want to get off this bicycle, where I think about specific kids, and there's really no rhyme or reason to the patients, you know, who pops up into my mind, but I think about specific kiddos that I treat, and it's just like, you know, this kid will never get this opportunity, or this kid will never be able to walk without assistance, or, you know, they're in the middle of chemotherapy or whatever, and it's just like, yeah, like keep going, like get to that finish line no matter what. And that's, I have a really cool opportunity with my job to not only fix teeth and, you know, make things healthier again, but to learn from and be inspired by these little people, and also to be somewhat of a coach and role model, and cheerleader, and just a listening ear. Sometimes some of my teenage kids, or, you know, the preteen kids, come in and I'll ask them how school's going, and if we shut up and listen, kids will tell us a lot. And sometimes the kids will divulge that they're getting bullied, or you can just tell with how they interact with their parent that home life isn't super great. So I always remind myself, like, no matter how stressed out I am or how difficult that patient may be, I may be the only nice person that they interact with. And so it really keeps you humble. And it really keeps things in perspective.
Yeah. It's a crazy thing, right? Like when you have that moment and you're on the bike, you, in this case, have an opportunity to think about one of your patients as a kid and the things that they're going through. All of a sudden, things that you're dealing with in that moment, right? Headwind, rain, crosswind, whatever it might be, all of a sudden isn't so bad.
Yeah.
And you're able to get through that a lot easier. I mean, I've said this so many times, like, now that I own a company, I guess I could say this. If I was to hire somebody to be in my business, I would look at an endurance athlete first because of the things that they would have gone through, so that when you're in our case, business for you dealing with children, all of a sudden it's not that bad, right? You get an email, and then for us, you get an email and it's like, hey, my ad didn't do A, B, and C. And it's like, okay, how do we make this adjustment? How do we fix it? And we go from there. Like, perspective is such a crazy thing. And I want to jump into UC conversation, because I'm sure that's given you perspective as well. Yeah. But I'm going to lighten it a little bit and let you know that your strength coach told you that it's a male.
Yeah, Flood.
He said he's going to have to talk to you about your basic bitch needs and your pumpkin spice choices.
So here's the thing. So I have worked with Flood now since I moved back to Norfolk, and I will say without a doubt that adding strength training and functional fitness work to my training has made the biggest difference in my resilience when it comes to recovery from injury, strength, performance, and also, he's a tough cookie, so my mental toughness too, but also just overall, mindset when it comes to pushing through the hard things. And so we have come a very long way in this amount of time that I've been with him. And so recently, and I've worked very hard on like honing in my diet and whatnot especially over the last year with the UC diagnosis. But the other day, Flood challenged me to go get a body composition analysis at just a local nutrition place. And it wasn't a DEXA scan or anything like that, just very like entry level composition. And we had a challenge as to whose body fat percentage was lower. And mine was lower by like a 0.5%. So we've been like joking about that over my last few. I meet with him twice a week. So I think I'm entitled to a little bit of pumpkin spice. Granted, I beat him in the body fat challenge, but I also want to stay on top, so maybe I need to like balance the pumpkin spice. But anyway, as an aside.
How long did it take you to incorporate strength training into your training cycle? Because endurance athletes are notorious for avoiding the gym at all costs, which, again, I'll be 50 in a couple of months. I've been doing this for 17 years. Going to the gym has been a part of it from the very beginning. And I think it's a big part as to why I've avoided injury over the course of 17 years. So was it something that you were, let's go do it because it was part of who you were from the beginning, or did you have to kind of be coaxed into the idea of getting into the gym a couple times a week?
My triathlon coach, Greg Gersicki, who is in Savannah, Georgia area, has been with me since day one when I started, when I was in South Carolina. And at the time when I started with him, I was in my residency, so, limited time to train. So a lot of my early training was just swim, bike, run, and do strength training on my own. And strength training on my own to me at the time was go do the loop of machines at the gym, do a couple reps, and stretch out a little bit. And when I moved back to Norfolk, Greg suggested that I start incorporating some heavy lifting and focused coached strength training. into my routine. And that's when I was put in contact with Flood through a mutual friend here. And I've always been, and Greg will agree to this, over eager when it comes to training, for better, for worse, and for doing whatever it takes to improve in terms of pushing my body and wanting to be a student of the sport, and trying to balance that over-eagerness with also giving myself the grace to take a rest day, and things that I think you and I talked about when we first met a few months ago. So I didn't require much coaxing. I was kind of like the athlete equivalent of a golden retriever. Like, okay, you want me to go straight train? You want me to go do this to get better? Okay, let's go. So, you know, and it's been wonderful. Flood is such a good friend now and just keeps it real and has just made such an impact on kind of an already building machine that Greg had started. So I didn't take much coaxing at all.
I love it. Yeah. And for those of you who are listening who are just getting started in these sports, or even if you're a veteran, get to the gym. It is absolutely necessary. You become a better athlete in general, and it will help you avoid injury. I want to get into UC a little bit. And for those of you who don't know, UC stands for ulcerative colitis, if I pronounced it correctly. Yep. So, you know, when were you diagnosed with this issue, and how do you cope with it during your training and or racing?
Sure. So I was diagnosed officially in February of 2022 or early part of 2022. Had issues and symptoms and just a lot of stuff going wrong systemically that previous Christmas time. And I think we're being joined by cat number 2 who wants to eat the camera because she's fat and she eats everything. But this is Watts. Hello. I know. She's the most dog-like cat on the planet. She sleeps with me. She knows her name. She comes when she's called, and she just wants to just be here. So she's just going to sit right here right now. So I kind of figured something was going wrong around Christmas of 2021, but officially diagnosed in January, February of 2022. UC is in the Crohn's family, for those who may not be familiar. It has some autoimmune components to it, but essentially your immune system is just as eager as I am to train as it is to protect my body. And so you have an overactive immune system that decides that it wants to cause a riot in your intestinal tract. And it was extremely hard to, no pun intended, to stomach at first, because I've always been an otherwise extremely healthy or health-minded individual, and didn't really have much going on health history-wise prior to this diagnosis, other than a broken bone in middle school, you know, some other bad flu type situations, but, you know, nothing major. And so all of a sudden I'm diagnosed with this thing that doesn't have a cure. It's something I'm going to have to manage the rest of my life. And it has huge implications for quality of life, if not managed in terms of surgical options and things like that. So I was not okay when I got that diagnosis. I was very upset. And at the time, the doctor that I was seeing kind of diagnosed and presented the information in a very nonchalant way. And being someone in the medical field, there's something to say about bedside manner and presenting bad news. So that didn't help the situation. So being very stubborn and being very determined, and coming off of the year prior, from a triathlon standpoint, I had one of the best seasons that I had to date. I had a lot of success when I was racing in Charleston early on, at the sprint and Olympic level. Did fairly well for my first 70.3 in Augusta in 2019, and then just kind of kept climbing. I podiumed at Eagleman in 2021, got my first ticket to 70.3 Worlds that year, and raced and did well. Raced my first full that year at Waco and punched a ticket to Worlds in St. George that May. And, you know, it was just kind of up here. And then to immediately get that diagnosis, and at the time, like, we had to figure out how to manage my disease, and something as complex as UC and something as multifaceted as an autoimmune disease. It's not just, here, take these medications. It's diet, it's lifestyle, it's relearning how your body works, no matter how in tune you are with it, all over again. So mentally, emotionally, to see my fitness and, you know, my abilities to swim, bike, or run without pain or other issues or nausea or vomiting or, you know, a whole lot of other stuff, everything was just kind of slipping out of my hands and I had no control over it. Right. And so what did I do? I decided to hang on for dear life into the only thing that made me feel like normal at the time, which was race. And so I proceeded to race full distance Worlds in St. George. That was the first race where I had to have the thought, like, am I going to make the cutoff? I walked the entire marathon. It took me 16 30 something close. It took me a long time to finish that race, and it was extremely humbling. And I had moments when my UC was kind of fluttering into control, where I had some good races. I raced Eagleman that year and got a ticket to 70.3 Worlds, and had to struggle through that race as well. And I was very determined and stubborn and stupid, and had signed up for Arizona that year or last year and raced it. I had a good swim and a good bike, and had some issues on the run, but landed in the medical tent for an hour after the race. There's a great picture that one of my teammates who was taking care of me at the time took of me laying on a cot with, like, my mouth half open with a space blanket over top of me. And, you know, in hindsight, I probably should have taken the better part of last season off. And that's something that I look back on now and say, but having gone through all of the struggles with learning how to manage my disease and learning how to still be a triathlete too, I wouldn't necessarily trade those blow up moments for anything. It would have been nice to have better races, but last year humbled me in a lot of ways, and it made me slow down. That's a loose term, obviously with respect to fitness, but more specifically, learn to get a better handle on my expectations for myself, and to realize that I am still very young in the grand scheme of this sport, and I have a lot of years to be successful, and I have a lot of years to find fitness again. And then, you know, not every race has to outshine the last one, that you're going to have shit races, even if you are super fit and super healthy, and you're going to have, you know, races that are great, and maybe they don't deserve to be great because you didn't put the training in it. You know, it all ebbs and it flows. But through medication, through a delicate balancing act of diet, I officially was, it was determined last Friday. I had a checkup with my doctor, that I am officially in remission from my UC, which is good. So that means everything's quiet right now, and I think that's been reflective in my performances thus far. But it's been a delicate balance and a slippery slope at times, but it's taken a village too. But we're officially healthy again, which is good.
That's awesome, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Jono Arlick commented earlier, and he said, you see warriors in triathlon, but then his most recent comment said, UC can take so much away that you want to keep the norm as much as possible, even when we know we shouldn't with the LOL. And I think that just kind of wraps up everything that you were talking about in that, maybe you should have taken last year off, but you're trying to keep everything as normal as you possibly can at the same time. And so it goes back to the balance of life, goes back to the idea of, well, which is something you talked about, right? That you're going to have shit races. Look, been doing this stuff for 17 years. Shit races happen all the time. And our value as people is not in those results on Ironman.com or Ultra Sign Up at all. And you have to understand that that's part of the process too. I know you mentioned the space blanket at Ironman Arizona last year.
Yeah.
In 2012. And as you're doing the race, right? So I started the run, it was daylight out and it gets dark early. And so, but your adrenaline and you're sweaty and everything. And when I crossed the finish line, they were like handing you a space blanket. I was like, I don't need that. And I took like 3 or 4 steps past the finish line when everything leaves, right? The adrenaline goes. And I was like, oh my goodness, it is freezing here.
Yeah.
Give me that space blanket. So for those of you racing Ironman Arizona for the first time, don't ignore the space blanket when you cross the finish line. Make sure you take it.
Nope. I'm keeping that in mind for this year too when I return in November.
Yeah, it's coming up soon. So how do you feel about, where you are with about 2 months to go before race day? How do you feel from the recovery from Finland, right? Because that's still there, and the progress towards the 140.6 distance.
Yeah. I'm super excited. To be honest, I finally, comparison is the thief of joy, so I'm told, but I consider 2021 to be kind of a barometer for where I felt the strongest, the fastest, the most confident in my abilities. And, my relationship with triathlon and my relationship with performance and stuff weren't the healthiest. So now, flash forward to 2023, I feel like my fitness is back to that state that it was in 2021 and arguably getting stronger. But the key point is that my mindset and approach to racing and competing is a much healthier one. And I think that may be my secret sauce in Arizona, that instead of feeling like, oh, I have to get a world slot, or I have to bike a sub whatever, I have to swim whatever, like, pressure is great. It means that you care about your performance, and nervousness is great. It means that you care. But the more perspective you can have on your performance, the easier you handle the, oh shit, I have a flat tire. Oh crap, my nutrition just fell off my bike. Or, oh, my belly's not having it today. And I got to that point by the end of 2022 where I could handle those moments a little bit better. So, mentally and physically, I'm feeling very strong for Arizona. I had signed up, got the race insurance, and told my coach, like, I really want to try to do Arizona. I know I did Tulsa in May. I know we kind of need to take this year step by step just because I'm making this health comeback. But each race is built upon the last, and I told him, I was like, let's just see like how I do in Finland, and then we'll go from there. And I couldn't have asked for a better day in Lahti, and it really was just such a green light that things are starting to feel better and obviously show in my racing. So when I finished Finland, I texted him, I was like, hey, everything went well, I blah blah blah, swim, bike, ride, like more specific coaching details. And I was like, and I really want to do Arizona now. And I'm sure he was sitting home in Savannah just like, oh, but yeah, so knowing what I'm getting into with that course, I think is going to be super beneficial, obviously, but just going back and attacking it with a much healthier physical body and mental state, I think are going to be it's just going to be a whole different experience than it was last year.
Do you enjoy the swim there? I remember jumping into that water and just being frozen.
Mm-hmm.
I was just so cold. And it was nothing that I expected because, again, I'm thinking desert, hot all the time. And when I got in that water, really the day before for the practice swim, and then that morning, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cold.
Yeah. The swim is my favorite of the three legs. It is arguably what I am the strongest in.
Okay.
I have no swim background. I am just very determined. And I was also in a bad cycling accident in 2018 in Charleston, and the only thing I could do while I was recovering was swim. And I was like, all right, well, this is the only thing I'm going to do. Like, I might as well learn to become proficient or relatively proficient. And I'm also tall and lanky, so that helps. So I always look forward to the swim, and I always see it as the variable that is the changing conditions of the water and the location are a challenge to me. As far as the temperature there, having raced in cold water in St. George 3 times prior to Arizona, and the water temp both for 70.3 Worlds last year and the year prior, and then the full distance, I mean, it's cold in that reservoir. So mentally, I knew when they said, oh, it's 50-some degrees, I'm like, I know what that feels like. So obviously, when you hit that temperature, your body is just like, no, mission abort. This is not okay. You know, your adrenaline, like you just mentioned, kicks in and you acclimate, everything freezes, and it's fine. I think what I wasn't prepared for last year with respect to the swim was the fact that my feet were frozen.
Yeah.
Like, I tried to, and there's a great picture, the photographers caught it, of me getting out of the water and just collapsing because I couldn't feel my feet. And instead of running into T1, I kind of just like waddled back and forth until I got feeling back into my feet again. And same thing with my hands, trying to work the bike. But other than that, the cold water really didn't bother me too much.
So pro tip for those of you who are doing it for your first time, I bought hand warmers and put them in my cycling shoes so that when it was time to start riding, my feet could get warmed up from those hand warmers, and I had no issues after the swim at Ironman Arizona because, to your point, like, my feet were frozen, and I pride myself on being in and out of transition as quickly as possible, and I probably spent about 10 minutes in there because I was just so cold after that swim. MK Hertz, they wrote, it doesn't feel good, the swim, the cold water swim. I'm with you. Like, I did Indian Wells last year, and they were like, do you want to do the bike? And I was like, there is 0 chance you're going to get me into the water. Like 0. So if you want me on this team, do the bike. I cannot do the swim. I will be miserable the whole entire time. It's just not for me.
One thing I do with cold water swims, and one thing a buddy of mine, open water swimmer in my hometown area, recommended I do, because obviously we as mere mortals don't have the luxury of doing like a practice swim like the pros do at these Ironman events. So he said, take some cold water, ice water, or just, you know, whatever, in a water bottle, dump it down your wetsuit and throw it in your face right before you go in, or relatively close to before you go in, and it kind of helps lessen that natural reflex that we have when we hit that cold water to be like, can't breathe. So I do that religiously for the cold water swims, and even for regular temperature too, but seems to help.
Awesome. We've had so much fun, but are you ready to have more fun in this conversation now?
Absolutely.
All right. I love hearing people's stories, but hearing people's food choices makes me smile even more. So
great. Love it. Okay.
The next list of questions is all about food choices, and we call it rapid fire, but feel free to elaborate if you need to. You ready?
Okay.
Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Absolutely. Is there any other way to eat pizza?
Yeah, without that stuff on it. All right. So here's my follow-up question to that. Will you eat pineapple on pizza with just pineapple, or does it have to have something else?
So I will do just pineapple.
Oh.
I'm digging the hole deeper for myself now. But a little bit of ham thrown in there for some protein, also a good thing. So like what is it? The Hawaiian pizza has ham and pineapple. Yeah.
Our partner he always says he loves pineapple on pizza, but it always has to be accompanied by something else, jalapeno, ham.
Perfect.
I'm like, so you don't actually like pineapple on pizza. You like this combination, but you're telling me you would pineapple on pizza by yourself. So I will clap to that. I won't ever eat it, but I'll give you kudos. Oreos. Do you go the old school Oreo? Are you a double stuff Oreo? Are you a thin mint Oreo or thin Oreo or the Cakester Oreo?
I'm gonna say the double stuff Oreos. I'm not such a fan of all of the different flavor, like the new, except I heard there is a pumpkin spice Oreo, so I may have to check that out. The basic bitch in me is very curious about that. But I like to separate my Oreos and like get the icing off and then have the 2 cookies and then like dunk those in my milk. Or sometimes I dip my Oreos in peanut butter. That's a thing.
What?
Yeah.
This is new.
Yeah. 5 stars would recommend. But I am more of the traditional Oreo as opposed to all the other different types that are out there.
Same here. Like, so I teach marketing, and Howard Moskowitz is the inventor of horizontal segmentation, and I always blame him when I go to the grocery store and I see birthday cake Oreo and lemon Oreo and red velvet Oreo, and I'm like, just the plain Oreo. It was perfect. You didn't have to do anything to it. Like, we don't need all these other Oreos. So give me the regular Oreo. I'm good with that.
Excellent.
Are you a licorice fan?
Not really. And then that was confirmed when we went to Finland. Apparently licorice is a big deal over there. And we did some sort of like game thing at the expo, and we won this stick of Finnish licorice. I was like, oh sweet, like, you know, native food item. And I had a bite. I was like, this tastes awful. It was very salty. I don't even know how to, it tastes like shit. So no, I am not a
Sorry to the Finnish out there.
Sorry guys. You have a beautiful country. I would go back to Lahti in a heartbeat. You have wonderful coffee shops and very kind people and good pastries, but your licorice is nasty.
Kyle's got your back. He called that stuff so gross.
Oh yeah.
MK Herzl said she was with you on Wawa and pumpkin spice, but you lost her with pineapple on pizza. And then wrote, oh, for the love of Pete, during the conversation about Oreos in peanut butter. I think that's what she was not agreeing with you on. So, ready for the next one?
I'm surprised Kyle's still watching. I'm proud of you. Thanks, Boo.
Peeps. Are Peeps a real candy, or are they just marshmallow covered in dust?
They're job security for me.
Yes.
Like, mothers, feed your children those Peeps all day long. No, I'm not a Peeps fan. So Kyle's dad, and Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong if you're still watching, he's a big Peeps fan, but he leaves them out for them to get like almost borderline stale or firm. And the man's got a sweet tooth, but he loves his Peeps. I don't care if they're seasonal, if they're snowmen or pumpkins or whatever holiday it is. I am not a Peeps fan.
Kyle agreed with you. He wrote, yeah. So we have been told 2 things. 1, eat the Peeps stale, which we've had them mailed to us from Boston. And I live all the way across the country. And you know how quickly the USPS works. It got here and it was fucking terrible. Like, why or stop? I don't get it. And then the other one was, we were told that you put it in the microwave for I don't know however long. Yeah. And then when you watch them in the microwave and they balloon up into like these big old birds. And we had another guest tell us that you put toothpicks in their beaks, and when you put them in the microwave, they look like they're jousting as they blow up. This I don't know that we're going to win any like awards for journalistic integrity on this show, but we're able to bring you that kind of stuff.
Oh man, we got to try that out this Easter.
Candy corn. Is candy corn a real candy, or is it earwax covered in sugar?
I'm a huge fan of candy corn. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like,
so
you're the person keeping Brock's in business these days?
Yeah, and the little pumpkins that's just like a little ball of glucose. Yeah, I'm all about it.
Those are the old grandma candies, right? You go to your grandma's tray.
Yeah, my grandma had those in like a crystal dish, and they probably had been out there from the previous Halloween, but man, they were good. Absolutely.
In addition to those candy corns, which I threw away, there was butterscotch in just a clear plastic wrapper, right? Yeah. Or the mint, the spiral red and white spiral mint that was always there.
Yep.
And then the other one was strawberry thing, like it was the strawberry candy
with the glue in the middle. Mm-hmm. Nope, absolutely not.
Peanut butter or nut butter, depending on your allergy. Creamy or crunchy?
Creamy, hands down.
Why? Why?
I feel like the creamy has more versatility. Like you can, arguably, I guess you put crunchy in like smoothies and things like that. Also, the peanuts get stuck in my teeth, and like I don't floss like I should sometimes, even though I am a dentist. So I don't like the feeling of things stuck in my teeth, and I just like creamy peanut butter. It's easier to spread on things. I am one of those people that will go to the jar with a spoon, and that's like my favorite thing to do after a long run or ride, because for whatever reason I'm never super duper hungry immediately after like a big ride or run. Swim's a different story, but what I can always do after a big ride or run is go straight to my peanut butter jar with my giant cereal spoon and just eat a couple spoonfuls. So yeah.
Love it. Is a hot dog a sandwich or a taco?
It is not a food item, in my opinion. I don't know what's in those things. I can't tell you the last time I had a hot dog.
I love it.
Yeah, if you want to make it sound fancy, you could call it like an American taco, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a sandwich because the bread is thicker, whereas in a taco it's real thin. So when you put the hot dog in, one sticks. So I go sandwich.
Okay.
Red velvet cake, is it a real flavor or is it just chocolate cake with red food dye? While you're thinking about that, hey Herzl, for the pat on the back, that is a hot dog a sandwich or a taco question is incredible.
I would say that it is a bougie version of chocolate cake.
Oh, that's a good answer.
It is dressed up chocolate cake with red dye, and it is a whole visual culinary experience.
That's a really good answer. Mm-hmm. I applaud that.
Yeah.
To me, it's chocolate red food dye, but bougie chocolate cake, now it makes it a big difference.
Yeah. It's chocolate cake really trying its hardest to level up and be something that it really wants to be, which is red velvet cake.
I love it. So I don't know what MK Herzl's first name. What is her name? Meredith? Mm-hmm. Meredith is now joining in on the fun and asking me questions. And the question is, if the bun is toasted, does that make it a panini? And the answer is yes. Great question.
Side note, so Meredith is the better half to fellow Team Zoot captain Nick Logan, who's up in the Northeast region. I'm Mid-Atlantic. They're wonderful people, and they're getting married soon, actually in like next month. And Nick actually, when he saw that I was going through all of my initial struggles with my ulcerative colitis, he is also a nutritionist. And so he reached out and said, hey, let's do some food sensitivity testing just to see if there are things that are more inflammatory in your diet or things you should be avoiding. So I gave several vials of blood, and the blood work went off and came back with a list of probably about like 30 different things, from actual foods to different produce, proteins, dyes, you name it. And so I really am forever indebted to Nick for helping me, sift through what is good, what is something I need to avoid in my diet, because those changes to my diet have arguably made, in addition to all the other things, a huge difference in my healing journey with my UC. So love Nick and Meredith.
Awesome. 2 more questions to go.
Okay.
Favorite ice cream is?
Favorite ice cream?
Yes. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Ooh. I am going to go with mint chocolate chip.
Yes!
Yes! Oh, so you get it. Okay. I feel like it comforts in all seasons. It's refreshing in the summertime. It's like got that peppermint vibe in the wintertime. I like the green kind. Yeah, there's like the imposters out there that are the regular white colored base of ice cream with the chocolate chips. Yeah, no, all about mint chocolate chip.
Perfect. Favorite candy bar? What's your favorite candy bar?
Candy bar. Ooh. Butterfinger, because it goes back to the peanut butter vibe. Mm-hmm.
Meredith asked, but is it legit if it's not green? It'll do. It'll hold in a pinch, but it's not. Yeah. It's not legit. Last one. Brownies. Are you going centerpiece or are you going edge?
I'm going to go with the edge. I need a little bit of hardness. I need a little bit of crunch before I dive into the squishiness that is the center. And I think there is value to the crunch and the harder parts of the brownie pan. So I'm going to go with the corner piece.
100%. So if I tally everything up, we disagree on pineapple on pizza, we disagree on pumpkin spice, but we do agree on mint chocolate chip, and we do agree on the edge piece of the brownie. If you ever want to hear me debate food, every Friday we put out a food fight video, food fight at noon Pacific time, so 3 o'clock Eastern time, and we discuss all of these things. We'll have a new one coming up this week. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
congratulations, Kyle.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your recent accomplishments at Lahri, and good luck to you at Ironman Arizona. We'll load up the tracker and be rooting for you.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
We'll see you soon. Have a good one.
Okay. Bye, friends.